Navigator Liara Bryn leaned into the curve of the observation deck's panoramic viewport, her six-faceted eyes drinking in the glittering tapestry of stars beyond. The Starlight Vanguard coasted silently in geosynchronous orbit around Juno Station, the vessel's sleek hull reflecting the station's ambient glow. Before her, the galactic holomap floated, an immense holographic sphere, threaded with silver lines that traced the hyperlane network connecting every major polity in the galaxy, from the spidery tendrils of the Lyran Confederacy to the clustered nodes of the Vexian Armada, from the spiral gates of the Ander Dominion to the pulsating warp bridges of the Shokari clusters. All lay charted and catalogued with meticulous precision. Except one region, a jagged red circle labeled unmapped territory. Human space yawned like a wound in the map. No hyperlanes snaked into it, no star names dotted its void. Just a perfect, ominous black. Liara's antennae twitched. Every other member of the Galactic Council had signed treaties of mutual charting decades ago. It was the bedrock of interstellar cooperation. You share your maps, I share mine. You open your gates, I open mine. Yet the human alliance had balked, repeatedly refusing to divulge even basic navigational data. "Can you believe it?" murmured Lieutenant Aaron Soule, the ship's tactical officer. As he hovered at her shoulder, the lieutenant, tall, lean, with an electric blue implant snaking along his neck, shook his head, his eyes narrowing as he studied the red-bordered expanse. They mapped their own systems obsessively. They've cataloged every asteroid belt, every mining outpost, every million-mile-long gravity elevator they've built. But they won't tell anyone else how to get there. Liara sighed. They claim proprietary rights, intellectual property of the human alliance, they say. No data sharing, no joint expeditions. They won't even confirm if their hyperlanes intersect ours. Captain Soren Vale entered the deck, his dark uniform crisp against the luminescence. He paused at the viewport, folding his arms. How many times have we asked? 27 diplomatic overtures, for requests to the Politburo, 3 formal complaints to the Council, and countless coded transmissions we never see. Soren's jaw tightened, and each time, polite refusal, the captain paced slowly, as if measuring each step against some unseen metronome. "We're weeks away from Sol," he said finally, tone measured. "And every other civilization we've encountered welcomes joint mapping initiatives. Even the Orion Collective, after 30 years of border skirmishes, agreed to open their outer lanes to us." He gestured at the black circle. "But we've been told explicitly not to probe beyond that boundary." A tremor of excitement passed through the junior officers clustered at the rail. First Officer Neryl Dax, a sleek, amphibious woman with mottled jade skin, glanced from Liara to Soren. "Is it true the Alliance even threatens reprisals for civilian vessels that stray too close?" she asked, voice low. "Based on intercepted comm chatter," Soule replied, "there have been disappearances. Non-military freighters that just vanish near the edge. No distress signal, no debris field. Gone without a trace." Liara's antennae quivered, a subconscious sign of concern. "And the only explanation we ever get from the Alliance is, 'Don't ask.'" Soren nodded. "So we won't ask. We'll observe. We'll collect whatever sensor data we can. Then we'll share it with the Council, and maybe someone else will pry the secret loose." He turned to Liara. "Prepare the Vanguard for departure. Set a course to the outermost gate of the Andromeda Tau network. I want us there within standard patrol window. Full quiet engines, no unnecessary subspace chatter." "Aye, Captain," Liara replied crisply. She tapped the holomap's interface. The silver lines reconfigured, tracing a breadcrumb trail of hyperlanes deeper into Andromeda space. As the rest of the crew filed out, Liara lingered at the console. Her membrane-thin fingers danced over the controls, pulling up archived recordings of human-sourced probes, brief, grainy bursts of visual data from near Kepler 186f, scans of underground hydroponics on Epsilon Eridani, the eerie blue glow of Terra Nova's oceans. All of it mapped the inner reaches of Sol's domain, but none ventured beyond the edges of the antenna rays. She tapped on one feed labeled Project Horizon, a secretive human venture launched 50 years prior. In stuttering frames, A small drone slipped through a rift in subspace, transmitting startling anomalies. Massive ring-like structures orbiting an uncharted sun. Energy signatures that pulsed not with man-made fusion, but something organic, alive. Then the transmission cut off. Forever, Liara exhaled. Human pride, her mind whispered, mingled with something else, fear. Fear of what lay beyond their known systems, and a stubborn insistence that no one else should see it. The deck beneath her hummed as the Vanguard disengaged from Juno Station's docking clamps. In seconds, the observation port behind her filled with the black tapestry of space. She caught Soren's reflection in the glass, trimmed beard, ice-blue eyes, the expression of a man who'd chased mysteries across 3 galaxies. And still the greatest enigma lay closer than any star. Liara, his voice crackled in her. Earpiece, report, she keyed the mic, thrusters green. Hyperdrive diagnostics nominal. We're aligned on gate Tau 58. Awaiting your command. Proceed on my mark. The observation deck's lights dimmed as the ship's grav drives engaged. Stars stretched into trembling lines of white, then violet. Then all color melted away into the silence of faster-than-light transit. Inside the holomap chamber, Liara drifted among the flickering constellations, her reflection ghostly against the undulating pins of light. A red blip marked their exit point. Beyond it, the blank expanse of human space. The hiss of the gate opening snapped her back. The hypergate's titanic ring shimmered into view, alive with cascading blue pulses. Soren's voice crackled again. Engage. Her finger hovered over the threshold's activation glyph. A moment later, the starless void yawned, swallowing the Vanguard in a crackle of energy. Then they emerged on the other side, not into barren emptiness, but into a starfield that felt wrong. No charted systems, no familiar cosmic landmarks, just a cold sea of pinpricks, scattered without pattern. The navigational HUD flickered, no gate icons, no strategic waypoints, nothing but the distant beacon of an unrecognized yellow star, bright and unblinking. Liara's heart quickened. Sensors online, she announced, scanning for gates. Grav beacons, any signs of hyperlane remnants? Nothing, said Sol, voice taut. We're beyond the edge. Captain Soren stepped forward, gaze fixed on the featureless sky. Behold, the frontier of human space. A hush settled over the bridge. Each officer felt it, the thrill of discovery laced with the chill of uncertainty. For uncharted territory meant boundless possibility and untold peril. Liara reached out, tracing the empty black around the yellow sun. How many human worlds lay hidden here? What wonders, what horrors had they encountered? And why, above all, had they sealed this region from the rest of the galaxy? She pressed her lips together. All right, she said softly. Let's find out. Outside. The Vanguard drifted deeper into the unmapped sea, each pulse of its engines cutting a path toward secrets no one else dared to chart. And in that silence, at the furthest edge of the known, the void waited, patient, implacable, and alive with forbidden questions. The starlight Vanguard coasted through the emptiness like a lone comet, its engines humming softly against the vast silence. Navigator Liara Bryn reclined at her station, eyes flicking across sensor readouts as they strained to pierce the dark. Behind her, the residue of the hypergate swirl dissipated into nothing. The snow star lanes. No waypoints, only the infinite black. Lieutenant Aaron Sol's voice crackled over the comms. Long-range scans are clear. No gates, no wormholes. Just drifting planetoids and a handful of ancient debris fields. He frowned. Looks like whatever civilizations ventured here before either left forever or were obliterated. Liara's 6-faceted eyes narrowed. Plot a search pattern. Focus on anything with non-natural electromagnetic signatures. We need to know if humans built hidden beacons or cloaked outposts in this void. Below decks, Dr. Morrow Kane's lab thrummed with activity. The xenologist knelt beside the crystalline orb recovered from the derelict cruiser, its facets glowing with an inner light. He tapped it lightly, and the glyphs flared, casting dancing azure patterns on the walls. Data anomaly, Morrow murmured, consulting his PADD. These symbols, their structure is distinctly human, but layered over something far older. The encryption algorithm corresponds to no known human alliance standard, It's alien. Suspicion prickled at Marrow's skin. He'd studied alien artifacts for decades, yet he'd never seen human-alien hybrids of design. He transmitted his findings to Liara, who replayed the data on a holoscreen in the bridge's analysis alcove. Soren Vale appeared beside her, arms crossed. "Your take?" Liara tilted her head as the glyphs rotated in mid-air. Humans discovered or reverse-engineered something beyond their territory, and they encoded it within standard mapping tech to hide its provenance. Soren's lips pressed together, so they didn't just block outsiders, they buried the truth in plain sight. Suddenly, the ship shuddered, throwing unsecured items from racks. Lights flickered. "Report." Soren barked. "Energy spike. For port side. Called Soul." That doesn't match any propulsion signature I know." Liara spun in her chair. "Visual sensors?" The viewport switched to external cameras. A shape loomed out of the darkness, vast, serpentine, and impossibly long. Its hull was a lattice of dark metal and bioluminescent veins that pulsed with every heartbeat of the void. It moved without engines, drifting like an enormous leviathan awakening from slumber. "Holy!" Aron's voice broke. "What in the galaxy?" The creature or ship closed to a distance that sent shivers through the Vanguard's hull. No threats were broadcast, no weapons charged. Instead, a wave of resonance washed across every crew member's mind, like a half-remembered dream. "Turn back." The command echoed in their thoughts, hushed, ancient, and unyielding. It carried a weight no words could convey, a promise of oblivion should they disobey. On the bridge, Dr. Morrow Kane staggered into the room, orb in hand. His face was ashen. "The loom," he whispered. "It's the loom." Liara's heart skipped. "You mean the cosmic intelligence of myth? The timeless entity rumored to weave the strands of fate across the universe?" Morrow nodded. "Legends say the loom predates the first dawn, and that it stitched the earliest galaxies together. Nobody believed it was real until now." "Captain." Vale squared his shoulders. "Can we engage weapons?" Aaron hesitated. "We have cannons, but every scan shows that thing's hull is layered in metacrystalline fields. Our pulses would phase through harmlessly or worse. Trigger it." Soren met Liara's gaze. "Options?" She exhaled, jaw tense. "We either comply and retreat, or we press onward and risk the loom's wrath. But if the human alliance is protected by this entity, it explains their secrecy. They're under the loom's watch, and they won't let outsiders poke around." Soren ran a hand through his hair. "Set emergency waypoint back to Tau 58, but keep passive sensors alive. If it's willing to talk, metaphorically speaking, we might learn why the loom stands guard." Liara tapped at her console. Course plotted, engines primed. The geomantic ship drifted closer, its luminescent veins pulsing brighter. Through her helmet comm, Liara heard every officer's ragged breath. Then, as one, they received the telepathic caution, again more urgent, insistent. "Human space is forbidden." Before Soren could respond, the loom ship emitted a ripple of subspace distortion. The Vanguard staggered, lights dimmed. The orb's glyphs on Marrow's scanner glowed white-hot. Morrow shrieked, dropping to one knee. "It's reading us, probing our minds." Liara gritted her teeth and sealed her own neural interface, a move she'd learned from alien diplomats. For a moment, her thoughts were her own again. Captain Vale seized the lull. "All hands, hold formation. No aggressive maneuvers. Steady as she goes. We'll escort ourselves out." Outside, the loom ship's form blurred, then receded into the darkness, its warning hanging like a suffocating veil around the Vanguard. The starfield beyond shook as the hyperlane they'd used briefly reformed, a jagged blue line reaching toward them. "Gate is stabilizing," Liara reported. "We can make it if we push now." Soren's voice was calm but resolute. "Then let's go. Engage." The Starlight Vanguard surged forward, engines roaring to life as they pierced the rippling boundary. The loom ship faded into the void. Behind them, its silent threat unspoken but clear. The price of trespass would be higher than any civil war. As the hypergate's arc lit up around them, Liara allowed herself one glance at the uncharted black. Stars glimmered like distant lighthouses, but the darkness in between was impenetrable and watched. Lights flared. The gate's energy cocoon swallowed the Vanguard whole. Then, with a final crackle, They emerged back into Andromeda's familiar lanes. Silence reigned on the bridge as systems reinitialized. Dr. Morrow Kane rose, trembling. The orb's light dim again. Captain Vale broke the hush. Log everything. We'll report to the Council minus classified human intel, of course. And send a secure transmission to the Alliance. We've encountered the loom guarding your border. Liara exhaled, rubbing her temples. Do you think they'll respond? Soren met her gaze, eyes shadowed with both relief and frustration. They'll deflect. They always do. But we know now why the map stops at human space. And until they choose to share more, the edge of the known will remain a place of whispers and warnings. Lieutenant Soul powered down the external feeds. Gates locked behind us, the blacks secure. Liara stood, shoulders squared. Then we carry the secret onward. The galaxy deserves to know what waits in that void, even if everyone's been told better than to ask why. Beneath their feet, the vanguard glided onward, away from the loom's shadow and toward the Council's scrutiny. But in every heartbeat of the ship, the echo remained. Human space was cloaked, forbidden, and protected by forces older than civilization itself. And the deeper truth why the loom wove its web around humanity remained a riddle they were no closer to solving.
The Starlight Vanguard lay silent in the void beyond Tau 58. The blackness outside the viewport undisturbed save for the distant glimmer of a solitary yellow star. Its engines idled as the crew gathered in the dimly lit analysis chamber, where the crystalline orb hovered in mid-air, suspended by anti-gravity clamps. Dr. Morrow Kane stood before it, PAD in hand, watching the glyphs pulse like a living constellation. Captain Soren Vale broke the hush. All right, we've skirted the loom's boundary once. Now we need answers. Liara, what have your sensors picked up since our return? Navigator Liara Bryn tapped the console. Passive arrays detect the faint hyper-energetic signature 3. Light years deeper. It's weak, almost a ghost of a hyperlane, but it might mark the entrance to a hidden route. If we can trace it, we could follow where the Alliance doesn't want us to go. Lieutenant Aaron Soul frowned. Risky. A loom is still out there. Any attempt to push deeper could draw its attention again. First Officer Neural Dax leaned forward, amphibian eyes gleaming. Or it could be exactly what we need. We know. The Alliance has secret stations on the other side of the boundary. Perhaps they use concealed microlanes to supply them. If we can find one, we'll be inside human space invisibly without triggering the loom's defenses. Soren considered the map projected on the holoscreen. Small nodes flickered where no civilian chart existed. Chart a course to that. Signature, but no full power jumps. We'll trickle our drive emissions and approach on stealth protocol. Then he turned to Morrow. Doctor, what more can you tell us about this orb? Morrow's fingers drifted over the PADD, the glyphs. On this device, encode fragments of a deeper map and esoterica chart the loom itself commissioned. When I isolated its algorithm, it revealed vector points leading to 3 concealed way stations. Azala Prime, Soren's Reach, and Fortuna's Gate. Each lies well within human claimed systems, yet none appear on any public registry. He looked up, excitement and dread warring in his eyes. It's as if the Alliance built a covert network under the loom's oversight, and then told no one about it. The captain exhaled. Then it settled. We follow these vectors in sequence. Liara, prepare a long-range probe loaded with the orb's scanning subroutines. Send it toward Azala Prime first. We'll monitor remotely before we commit the Vanguard herself. A creak of the bulkhead announced the entrance of Chief Engineer Talia Knox, her arms cradling a cylindrical canister. Probe's ready, she said, clipping it into the launch bay. We've encoded the orb's decryption core into its nav matrix. It should lock onto the hidden narrowgate if it's still operational. Soren nodded. Launch on my mark. He gave a brief, crisp countdown. At 0. The probe shot out with a silent pulse of gravitic thrust and vanished into the starfield. 3 hours later, the bridge was tense with anticipation. Holographic scatterplots mapped the probe's progress. Liara's limbs moved in intricate arcs as she adjusted subspace filters. Probe entering cloak field now, she reported. No hypergate signature on conventional sensors. But the orb's algorithm has locked onto vector AZ117. A new point blazed on the display, followed by a thin blue line weaving toward the yellow star. Trajectory stable, Aaron Saul confirmed. We'll need to adjust our course by 15 degrees to intercept, Soren gave the order. The Vanguard pivoted, its ion thrusters whisper quiet. Morrow hovered nearby, eyes glued to the orb's patterns dancing against the deck plates. Suddenly, an alert chimed. Liara's antennas twitched. Captain, I'm picking up a small fleet emerging from behind that red dwarf. On the main viewport, tiny specks resolved into 3 sleek gunships and a larger escort cruiser human designs. But unlike any class listed in the Alliance's public registries, their paint jobs were a muted gray, their insignia a stylized. Ouroboros circumscribing a star. Open a hailing channel. Soren ordered. Static crackled before a calm. Clipped voice answered. This is Guardian Cruiser Helena Mistral of the Human Alliance. Private Security Course. Identify yourselves. And state purpose for entering Restricted Sector 9. Starlight Vanguard, Galactic Council vessel, Soren replied. We're on a diplomatic reconnaissance charting unknown hyperlanes. We came across what appears to be a concealed route to Azala Prime. We seek to confirm its existence. There was a pause. Then the reply. You are in violation of Alliance treaties. Withdraw immediately or be fired upon. Morrow swallowed audibly. Their private security corps pledged to uphold the closed zones, but not official military. We might negotiate. Soren held up a hand. Lower shields. Prepare to comply, but keep full weapons hot. Diplomatic channels first. He switched frequencies. Helena Mistral, we respect your protocols. We will alter course at once. But for the sake of transparency, will you confirm whether a narrowgate exists on vector AZ117? The gunship's response was curt. No comment. This channel is closed. And with that, their comlink severed. The 3 gunships advanced, their twin ion engines flaring softly through the cloak field. The Vanguard's shields dimmed as they rotated to present a minimal profile. Liara keyed her console. We're clear of the lane by 60,000 kilometers. No sign of a gate yet, but the orb's telemetry insists it's there. Soren turned to Morrow. Doctor, any alternative means of verification? Morrow's jaw clenched. We could deploy a GravNet Probe 1 that physically sweeps the volume from micro-dimensional seams. But if the PSC is watching us, they might interpret that as hostile. The room stilled. Then Dax spoke up. Or we could use the Vanguard itself. A low-yield jump, just enough to test the seam, and if nothing happens, retreat on sublight. How low yield? Aaron asked. 20% power. Aiming for a slipstream that lasts a fraction of a second, just long enough to breach. The cloak field, then abort. Soren weighed the risk. Very well. Liara, prepare the quantum drives. I want a full engine staff on the pylons. If we're detected, we'll need every joule to retract. The Vanguard drifted toward the projected. Coordinates, the PSC gunships shadowing their every move. The air thrummed with tension as the crew braced for the unthinkable, to jump into a forbidden's realm. Knowing full well the loom could strike at any moment, Liara initiated the countdown. On the viewport, space itself shimmered as the quantum. Rippler engaged. Starlight stretched into lines of violet and azure. But before the Vanguard could fully transition, the ship jolted violently. Systems flickered. The deck beneath them groaned. "Abort!" Soren barked. Liara slammed the abort protocol. The ripples collapsed in on themselves, leaving the Vanguard. Blinking back into normal space only now, they found themselves not in the expected black, but inside a sprawling nebular cloud tinted emerald and violet. Gas tendrils curled around the hull. Distant wisps glowed with ionized beauty. And there, centering the nebula, stood the narrow gate itself, a luminous ring etched with archaic runes that flickered in the dim light. Morrow gasped. "It's real." But celebration was cut short by a thunderous tremor. The loom's presence flooded their minds once more, an undercurrent of warning, sorrow, and something darker, a resolute demand. "You trespass. Leave or be unmade." Soren's knuckles whitened on the console. "All hands stand by. Shields up, full redundancy." The PSC gunships appeared at the fringe of the cloud, weapons primed. Their escorts pointed directly at the gate. "Overcome." The Helena Mistral's voice was cold. "Remove yourself from the gate's influence immediately and stand down." Soren exhaled slowly. "Helena Mistral, we acknowledge your jurisdiction, but we're just as bound by our mission. We propose a truce. Let us send a joint delegation through this gate. A human envoy and a Galactic Council envoy, escorted by both our ships. We'll explore Azala Prime together." Another pause. Then, unexpectedly, proposal accepted. "But violate the truce, and you will face consequences far beyond your worst imaginings." The sublight engines on the Vanguard and the PSC gunships disengaged. Shields dropped to standby. A neutral corridor opened. Liara keyed her mic. "All right, let's do this right. Morrow, you and Dax prepare to lead the delegation. Sol, you'll stay with the ship. I'll navigate and relay everything back." As the away team assembled, the narrow gate's runes blazed. A hush fell. Then the shimmering portal ignited. Arches of violet energy bridging 2 points in space. Morrow gripped the orb. "Good luck," he whispered. First Officer Dax placed a reassuring claw on his arm. "We'll bring back answers." With a final nod, they stepped through the portal and vanished, leaving the rest of the Vanguard staring into the radiant embrace of human space itself. In the electromagnetic hum that followed, the loom's warning lingered in their minds. They had crossed the Forbidden's horizon, and the true test of what lay beyond was only beginning.
The violet ring of the narrow gate shimmered and pulsed like a living heartbeat as Captain Vale and the remaining bridge crew watched its energy signature fade into the human sector, with Morrow Kane and First Officer Neryl Dax on the far side. The Starlight Vanguard lay eerily still, its vents sighing gently as systems cycled back to standby. Behind the gate, 3 PSC gunships hovered silent sentinels in the emerald haze of the nebula cloud. "Status?" Soren asked, voice low. Liara Bryn's antennas trembled. "The gate remains open. Subspace link is unstable but holding. I'm reading basic environmental data. Breathable atmosphere, gravity similar to Earth's. Trace radioisotopes that suggest artificial terraforming, but no hyperlane beacons beyond this point." Aaron's soul rubbed his temples. "We've got 20 minutes before the gate collapses on its own." He glanced at the holomap, which now displayed the nebula's interior as a surreal tapestry of shifting greens and purples. Morrow and Dax should be reporting any second. The holocom flickered. Marrow's voice tense. Odd broke through. "Bridge, this is Kane. You won't believe what we've found." "Report," Soren said. "Azala Prime isn't a planet, it's an artificial world. A Dyson ring habitat hollowed around a white dwarf at the nebula's heart. Thousands of kilometers of living surface arc overhead in a perfect circle. Cities span the inner shell, linked by braided light rails and aqueducts that curve into the sky." Dax's voice came next. Urgent, even more striking. "Every major structure is marked with ancient loom. Runes, but interwoven with those, human. Glyphs. Civilization here is a seamless blend of human technology and loom architecture. Streets paved with living crystal, buildings that flex like muscle in the light. Silence settled over the bridge. Soren exhaled. Incredible. But why hide something of this scale behind a forbidden boundary? A crackle of static. Then Morrow again. We found their records and the answer lies in a central archive. Called the Loom Hall. I'm transferring data logs now. But you need to see this. Within moments, a three-dimensional projection materialized in the chamber, a panorama of a grand hall, carved from living glass. At its center hovered a luminous tapestry woven of light and stardust, the loom's original weave overlaid with human star lines. Narration in a calm, synthetic voice began when the loom awoke in this sector. It found dying stars and barren worlds. Humanity, young and eager, offered their creativity to revitalize the void. In return, the loom granted them partnership knowledge of cosmic threads, seeds of life engineering, guardianship of balance. This covenant built a Zala Prime and his sister stations as bulwarks against cosmic decay. Liara's voice was barely a whisper. They weren't hiding a threat, they were preserving a promise. Morrow continued, eyes shining. The human alliance was entrusted to maintain these stations, but as they expanded outward, politics and fear took root. Eventually, alliance leaders sealed the treaty from their own citizens and from the galaxy, fearing exploitation or misuse of loom gifts. They built narrow gates for themselves but barred all others. The loom, bound by its own mandate, enforced the boundary warning. Any who drew too near. Aaron absorbed this in stunned silence. So human space wasn't an empire's ambition. It was a sanctuary, an experiment in cosmic stewardship that became a state secret. Soren closed his eyes, and the disappearance of vessels, the loom, simply wove them back into its tapestry, erasing their threads to keep the balance unbroken. But the data logs end abruptly, Dax pointed out. There's no record of what happened decades ago when the human alliance fractured, when the private security corps took over, when secrecy hardened into isolation. Marrow's face darkened. I'm pulling fragments now. Something called the fracture event. It hints at a rebellion on Fortuna's gate, a schism between those who wanted to open the covenant, share with the galaxy, and those who wanted to seal it forever. It ended in bloodshed and the directive, never again. Then the logs stop. In the hush that followed, Soren spoke softly. We've learned more in these brief minutes than the Council has in lifetimes. But our time's almost up. He glanced at Liara. Will the gate collapse? Liara's fingers flew over the console. Down to 5 minutes and counting. We need to decide. Do we withdraw with this intelligence or press on to the next station? The captain allowed himself a moment's contemplation. Our mission is knowledge, and we're the galaxy's link to this secret. We cannot abandon it now. Plot a relay beacon here, at the nebula's fringe, so Council ships can arrive safely by guided jump. Then we proceed to Soren's reach with Morrow and Dax. Aaron gave a curt nod. I'll set up the beacon. Talia, prep the auxiliary power. For the jump, on the holomap, a translucent marker appeared at the nebula's edge, a promise of return. As seconds ticked down, the Vanguard's auxiliary thrusters nudged her closer. With 3 minutes remaining, Soren addressed the assembly. We're about to step deeper into human domain, into the heart of a pact between humanity and an entity older than the stars. We must honor the Covenant's intent, not the Alliance's. Fear. We are explorers, not conquerors. Morrow and Dax reappeared on the holocom, ready to re-embark. The narrow gate flared open once more, awaiting them. Liara checked her chrono. 30 seconds. Soren clasped Marrow's shoulder. Bring us back the truth. Then turning to Dax, and the next chapter of this story. With that, the shuttle, containing the 2 envoys, drifted into the gate's violet aerial and vanished. At the same moment, the Vanguard's own engines ignited. They surged forward, slipping through the portal just as the timer hit 0. A final flash of incandescent energy consumed the viewport, and then they were inside human space proper. The nebula's emerald mists gave way to a tapestry of orbits, and Arcology's planets ringed with Dyson structures, artificial suns, and clusters of habitats that shimmered like gems, all etched with loom runes and human markings, interlaced in patterns of hope and harmony. No longer unmapped, human space revealed itself as a living canvas of cosmic partnership, and perched among its wonders, the Starlight Vanguard hovered, a humble witness to a secret that would reshape the galaxy's understanding of humanity's place in the cosmos. Captain Vale exhaled in awe. The map may have stopped at human space, but now our work truly begins. Beyond the viewport, the twin legacies of human ambition and ancient intelligence stretched into infinity. And the galaxy watched, having finally found the courage to ask why.